but one of our board members is a little bit late, and we need that board member for a quorum. So if y'all just be patient with us, we shouldn't be but a few minutes starting. 21-07 4A, other than the ones I've got? If you would you give Sonny your, is there anybody else that's going to speak to that? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Barnes. Mr. Barnes, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. You know, there's no doubt in my mind about that. None whatsoever. Okay. All right, it is 4:08 on August the 2nd, Tuesday, August the 2nd. I'm calling this planning board meeting to order. George, would you start us with the invocation? If you would please rise.
Our Father which art in heaven, thankful unto thee for this day and for the blessings thou hast given to us. We're thankful for the opportunity to live in this great city. We're thankful for all those who have dedicated their time and talents, those members of the city that are here this day. We're thankful for the opportunity to serve. We pray thou bless us as we go in this meeting, that we'll do those things be pleasing in thy sight, that we'll do things be equitable for everyone that is here. Not that everything is equitable for everyone, but do the things that are best for the growth of this city and for the citizens here. And these blessings we pray for, if it be thy will, in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Barnes, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance, please?
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Oh. Ms. Krantz, would you call the roll call, please?
Thank you, sir. Chairman Killebrew,
Here.
Vice Chair Deloach,
Here.
Mr. Wallace,
Here.
Mr. Barnes,
Here.
Miss Rawls is an excused absence, Miss Wilson,
Here.
Miss Owens is also an excused absence. We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the planning board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that verbatim records of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based on the Florida statute 286.0105. That's that part of it. Does anybody here have any problems with ex parte communication with any of the cases that have come before us this morning or this afternoon? Okay. Now I need a approval of minutes for the June 7th, 2022 meeting. Can I have a motion and a
Second
second?
motion that we approve the June 7th, 22 minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion passes. We need approval of the minutes for July 18th, 2022 special called meeting. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, before we do, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I emailed about this and I either missed the reply or didn't get one. Staff, in the motion, at the end of the minutes, blah, 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 and any disaster to the current home would be on a case by my case basis. Is that a typo or is that a term I'm not familiar with?
That's a typo. My apologies, Mr.
Thank you.
Barnes, and I don't recall seeing your email.
I-
So sorry.
Very good. So with that correction, I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I hear a second.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. The We've moved into the public comment section. I have cards here for that. You have 3 minutes to speak. And well, actually, that's the public comments is just towards anything on the board. We have to wait for the, right?
You're a general public comment, sir.
Okay, yeah, the general, is there any general public comments? Anybody like to speak or present themselves to the board? Seeing none, we'll move past that. Now we move into the regular public business. Case PB 2107, request of extension of time to submit final plan. Ms. Walsh, would you like to present your?
I would thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Lisa Walsh, Planning Director. This preliminary plat came before you last November 2nd. It was approved. The applicant has had some difficulties with construction timing and supplies, materials, that sort of thing. And they are requesting an extension of the 6-month period that is indicated in the code that says that they're supposed to be submitting a final plat within 6 months of approval of the preliminary one. They realize that this request is outside of the time frame of the 6 months initially, but they are respectfully requesting your consideration.
Okay. Any questions of Ms. Walsh and staff? Oh, sir, hold on just a minute. I'll allow the public to speak, okay? Thank you. Let me catch up with myself here. I'm sorry.
No worries. You're the chairman.
Yeah, but I like to stay on task. Okay, anybody got any questions of Ms. Walsh? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Walsh. What is what is staff's recommendation on this?
The staff's recommendation is for approval.
Okay.
The applicant is making headway. It's not like they're not doing anything. They're just tied up in other processes that they've got to meet.
And this is just an extension of what we've already
Yes,
given
sir.
them to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they making changes to the plan?
They made the changes that you had suggested at the last meeting, and you gave your approval at that time.
That's not this extension.
No, it is not.
You got.
Right. What you have is what you have now allows them to begin construction. But they need that 6-month extension just because it's a section in the code that requires it.
Mr. Wallace, could you turn on your microphone, pull it down to you, please? Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Okay. Okay, I'll go to public speaking then at this time.
I see the picture of the new plot.
Oh, well, that's what I was going. Okay. Oh. There you go. Hang on, we're fixing to go to public speaking when you can ask some questions, okay? You know, okay, I'm gonna call on, we're gonna go to public speaking and, we'll call on Andrea Campbell. You were the first one to put your card in, Miss Campbell. If you would, when you come to the podium, if you would give your name and your address just for record, please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Andrea Campbell and I'm at 2212 Palmacia Terrace, the road that you guys
It's the microphone,
talking about.
Mr. Chair.
I just talk low. I'll come closer. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. I saw the sign, so my concern was when I purchased the property 2 years ago, it was a cul-de-sac for my kids' safety to not have cars speeding up and down the road. And now they're saying that they're gonna be opening the road to go to Mosley, so then we won't have that any longer.
That won't be, it was not going to go to Mosley. Everything that we've seen, I mean, you can see by that, there's no way for it to go all the way through to Mosley with the way that they're doing the houses is you'll still have a cul-de-sac down there.
So then how will it be opened up for the houses to be down there?
They'll come down Palmacia to the two houses that are being down on that end.
Mhm.
And then the others will be on Mosley, well, not actually Mosley, out on Edgemore. And so they're not actually gonna open anything. That's not anything we've done. We've not allowed that. We were talking about two houses down on the end of that cul-de-sac.
And then they just so the cul-de-sac will still be there to just be two additional houses and
Yes,
the other
ma'am.
houses will be on the backside of
Yes,
those
ma'am.
houses.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That was
Yes,
my
ma'am.
concern.
Thank you. Alvin Jones.
My name is Alvin Jones. I live at 2200 Palmacia Terrace. Palmacia Terrace is currently zoned R1 AA. It's golf club estates. I don't think that there's a reason to change it from R1 AA. It was zoned that way for a reason. It's residential low density. I think it should remain low density. My property, my home is adjacent to the builder's property. I welcome a cul-de-sac. I welcome growth in our city. With a cul-de-sac, people won't be turning around in my driveway as much, right? My home is between the property of the builder and what was once Judge Eastmore's home,
Mhm.
the late Judge Eastmore. I feel it. And when Judge Eastmore was with us, we didn't need a homeowners association. He would let you know if you had a problem, right? After Judge Eastmore passed, that property was purchased by the late Ed Brooks. Many of you probably know Ed Brooks. He was a stickler for doing things right. He was with the property appraisal office, I believe. He was such a stickler that things be done right, that a fence that Judge Eastmore had built was on my property.
Mhm.
He broke it loose from the rest of his fencing and gave me that fence. He wanted to see that things were done right. And the reason I mentioned my late neighbors is because I feel if either of those men were with us, this builder would have already been asked to go back to the drawing board. Right? What they're requesting is R1A, a 70-foot width property. 8 of the 10 houses on our street are wider than 70 feet. All 10 of the houses on our street couldn't be built on a 70-foot property with proper setbacks. The builder has said that their property values have gone up in places where they built their homes.
Mhm.
Even rundown, this is the 2020s, even rundown houses, the values are going up. If the values don't go up as fast, the tax revenue won't be as high. Let's see, what's the last thing? Basically, it's not suited for what we have. Basically, putting R1A houses on our street in our neighborhood is the equivalent of putting tiny houses in an R1 neighborhood. They just don't fit. I want to thank you for listening to our concerns. I know you're going to do whatever you feel is right for the city. But once that builder has promised nice houses on our street. But once it's passed as R1A, they can build whatever suits R1A. They don't have to build nice houses on our street.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Mr. Norwood,
James Norwood, 2317 Palmacia Terrace. I guess my first question would be, was this properly advertised for the first meeting? Because this is the first time we saw the sign
mhm.
advertisement. Who does the advertising? I'm asking. the question.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes, sir. It was properly advertised both times.
Where was it advertised? We didn't, I mean, where the current sign is today, it wasn't a sign there at the first time advertised.
I can tell you that the signs were put out. I can also tell you that often our signs are picked up by people that are not part of the city staff.
Well, the first problem that I do have is advertising.
please speak into the microphone, Mr. Norwood.
The first problem I do have is advertising. I mean, because I don't think any of us was here for the first meeting.
I don't recall. I think maybe you were.
So therefore, there's an advertisement
Okay.
issue.
But the letter I got said, because I was 150 feet
Okay.
from the property, my neighbors are not.
Excuse me, when I pointed at you, I didn't mean, I'm sorry, no, I'm at fault there. I didn't mean for you to speak. I was just telling you to wait, please. Okay, Mr. Norwood, I'm sorry.
So my first issue is there's an advertisement issue. So is the city attorney available? But because I need to understand.
Yes, sir, I'm available.
Ms. Thomas is here.
If
Yes, sir.
the advertisement was not proper, then is the prior meeting and approval, is it still, is it in compliance?
That
I
was a
can
question
tell
for you, Ms. Thomas.
Yes, sir, I heard it. Thank you, Mr. Killebrew.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Ms. Walsh and Ms. Krantz have, as Ms. Walsh stated, they advertised the meeting. It was noticed in the newspaper, plus the signs were erected.
Well,
That's
we don't take the
standard.
newspaper.
And the signs were erected at the location as it's mandated by statute.
No, there was no signs local. There's no sign erected. I walked the entire Palmacia Terrace every day. And I did not see any signs posted.
Yeah.
There's currently a sign on the corner of Palmacia and Mosley to notify us. That's the reason we're here today.
Well, I think most of the property, I mean, I'm speaking out of place, maybe, I don't know, but I think most of the property that's involved in this is on Mosley, at the corner of Mosley and Nedgemore.
I'm sorry, it's on the corner of Palmacia and Hudson. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I apologize for that. But my question is then, if the sign is on Palmacia and Hudson today, was there and I understand you said that people would move them and that kind of thing, but that sign's been there now for almost 30 days, if not longer, and nobody's touched it. So I have an advertisement issue, first of all. That's my first issue. My next issue.
Mr.
Yes.
Norwood, I can only go by statements of staff who said that the signs were properly erected.
Well, we
pursuant
got
to-
all the neighbors here. All the neighbors say that they didn't see a sign.
And I have staff that said that the signs were erected.
Okay, I mean, we live in the neighborhood, you know, we didn't see a sign, so I'm not gonna stand here and debate that. That's
Okay.
that's not the proper time for that anyway. But also, I'm sort of neutral because I've not seen any plans or anything from what's going to be built there. I know that there's, from what I'm now understanding, they're asking for a zoning change, and I'm taking it and I'm asking the question, have that zoning change been approved?
No, we didn't on the last board. Ms. Walsh, you want to?
The applicant is not asking for a zoning change. They never have asked for one. It's zoned already R1A. I have R1A in my records. I I also have photographic proof of the signs being posted. And if you were within 150 feet of the property, you received a letter.
Well, I'm not
And there
150
was-
feet.
Well, then you wouldn't have received a letter, but there was also notice posted in the newspaper.
Where's that located?
This says 1900 Mosley Avenue. This was in October.
Well,
This was from the first hearing,
I would have never seen that. I
the
don't
first.
even travel that close.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, also, like you said, you're not within 150 feet of the property,
Right,
so you wouldn't have got any notification.
right. So my next question then is there any, what size of the housing are they talking about building in? 1,000 size?
From the minutes from the meeting in November, the applicant stated that the minimum square footage would be about 1,200 square feet.
That's not compatible with that neighborhood. And we're talking about putting two houses right there on Palmacia Terrace in that where the cul-de-sac is today. 4 houses there then. Okay, but that's not compatible to the neighborhood.
Okay. Mr. Nord, can you wrap up for me? You're way over 3 minutes.
Okay, nobody's answered my question yet, though. I'm
Okay.
here for information.
Okay, and I understand that, but after this meeting or we're over, if you can talk to Ms. Walsh, she can give you all that information. Because all we're here for today is grant them an extension of what they've asked for. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, I understand where you're at. And that's where we're at today. We're trying to grant an extension for what they're working through.
Okay. Let's go. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the board? Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica Smith. I'm very sorry. I shuffled them wrong. If you would give your name and address, please, ma'am, for the record.
Jessica Smith, 2215 Palmacia Terrace. I understand that you said that this is only for the extension. Signs on Mosley do not notify people on Palmacia Terrace, and I understand that by law, you don't think if we're within 150 feet that it matters, but it really does matter. So now we feel at an extension meeting, we have to say, hey, we never even knew this was going on until it was too late. So my question is it already too late? Is this done? All you're doing is requesting an extension for something you've already approved. These houses are being built no matter what now.
I don't think that's actually what we did in the last meeting. I think that we had to, we did. Okay. I just have to look back at, we approved it. So,
I
but-
think the general upset is that none of us knew until it had already gone through all of the changes.
yes, ma'am.
And so that's upsetting. And Mosley signs don't have anything to do with Palmacia Terrace. Our street doesn't go out to Mosley. So how would we know that our lives, how would we know that something on Mosley was going to affect us on Palmacia? So that's not fair to pretend that we would be informed of something over on Mosley on Palmacia. So I understand this is not the right format, but none of us knew to be able to express ourselves in the meetings where maybe decisions would have been made that, because no one on the street wants this. And at least if there's going to be houses on the street, they need to match the houses that are already there.
Yeah.
50-year-old, 2,200 square foot brick houses so that you don't look down our street and see shotgun, houses. That was my main thing. If the street's not going to go through, that's great. That makes me feel a lot better because I bought a dead end street house so that my grandkids could play, so that's all I really wanted to say is that I feel like we didn't get to come here and say things in the meetings where it mattered.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you another 30 seconds.
If you look up the county property appraiser's office, Golf Club Estates is all R1 AA.
Yes, sir.
100-foot wide properties, not R1A. That's. So if they have not requested a zoning change, they need to request one. Or not build in the manner they're planning to build, because it doesn't meet current zoning.
Okay. Well, according to staff and that's all we got to go on
Yes, sir.
is what staff is going in her record.
Well,
coming back
I'm
on.
sure she can bring up
Yeah.
the county office and put it
Well,
on the board.
But I'm saying, we're going by what we have
Yes.
in here. And again, and I don't mean to sound harsh, but in this situation, there is the appeal process.
Yes.
So you can come back
Well-
and come back and appeal what we've done.
I'd just rather do it right the first time.
Yeah,
Ask
well,
the builder to go back to the drawing board.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Walsh, you have anything further? Okay. I'm gonna close the public speaking part of this and open it up to board members' discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead,
maybe
Ms. Barnes.
if staff could advise, if we grant the extension, there's no further appeals process for these folks, is there? This isn't going before the commission, the city commission, or it's already been approved, right? We're just extending what's already been approved.
Correct.
Any further discussion? What's the pleasure of the board?
I would like to say personally that I was not here when this passed, planned on being here. We had cows out. And that just the bottom line. If I lived in Palmacy right now, and the houses that I know that are there compared to what they're planning on building, what I'm seeing here, I would not be a happy camper. That's just the bottom line. And like I said, I wasn't here at the first meeting, but that's where I stand.
Mr. Chairman, I will follow that comment up by saying, while I don't disagree at all with what was said, and I too don't believe I was here for this because this isn't ringing a bell. We have approved this for a builder. So we need just cause to stop them in the middle of it.
Exactly.
So they're not asking for anything that wasn't already approved to them. And I don't necessarily agree or disagree at this point. That's not my position. We've approved something and we're not really changing anything by granting an extension. And I find it awfully interesting if we don't grant an extension for something that was already approved by the board at a prior date.
Exactly. Mr. Wells, turn on your microphone, bring it down to you, please.
The people that are questioning now, when it comes before the commission, they can come then and voice their concerns, right? And the commission can turn the whole deal down.
That's Ms. Thomas, can you answer to that question?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Yeah,
So it's not a done deal.
right. And because, the audience sitting here today, because we don't personally agree with things sitting up here on this board, we can't always voice that opinion. We have to go by what the law says and what the codes say, and what goes by that. We can't just willy-nilly turn things down. Then we have the other side that's coming in and you just can't willy-nilly do things.
And
So I just want to say that y'all looking at me, I know I'm sitting up here in the hot seat because I'm the one talking, but that's what happens to us. Okay. We're citizens of this county and this city too. And just because we, like again, just because our personal feelings, we just can't deal with them that way. You have something to say, Mr. Wallace?
If we grant the extension is for them to get their ducks in a row and get the plat
Right.
to a final form.
Right.
This is not a final form for plat. They will fix things that need fixing, but that's not gonna make these people happy, you know.
Right. So with that being said, you still have the chance to go before the city commission.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, can staff give us a breakdown of where this would go from here if we grant the extension? So they have 6 months to submit a final plat for review. Does that final plat come back before the board, at which time we could hear everybody's questions, concerns, and approval, or am I mistaken?
It's my understanding in our code that the approval of the preliminary plat allows them to begin site work.
Correct.
And that time frame would allow them to establish that final plat and bring it back before you.
So there's no, once you begin site work, there's no denying a project.
That's correct.
All right, so that was my understanding also.
Everything that they are doing on this piece of property is permitted in the code. It's permitted by the zoning designation. And the builder has stated in previous meetings that those square footage of the houses would be a minimum of 1,200 square feet. I can also tell you that the last 7 or 8 permits that I've received from this builder in other parts of the city have averaged 1,700 square feet.
Okay. Just to piggyback off of what Mr. Wallace said, he made a point that folks that still had an objection could go to the city commission to voice that objection. At this point, what objection would they voice of any merit? There's not one, to my understanding.
Not really.
Okay,
Not really.
so
Everything that they are doing is permitted by code.
correct.
So can we look back, we're saying, or you're saying that the zoning is one thing and you're saying it's the other, can we pull it up?
Yes, we can. Might take a few minutes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Wallace.
I don't have a description on here, so I don't know what this plat, but it's the old Spalding property.
No, sir. It's down from the old Spalding property. It's on the corner.
This was probably.
Yeah, this was Spalding property,
She bought all of that property that butted up in 1900.
and they cut part of,
Okay.
they cut part of it off.
I stand corrected because I thought
What?
Spalding property was up a little bit.
Was the Spalding property part of that subdivision that the
No.
gentleman cited?
I do know that. Right. It's no, because that place would, the old Spalding.
Say it again.
The old Spalding house has been sold.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, is the Spalding property in total part of the plat that the gentleman over here is,
On the corner, that corner piece, or the part where the house was?
this whole Spalding property?
Mm-hmm.
Now they've cut a piece of it off. Right? And they're keeping the house down on that part, and this is part of the other.
This was always extra property, that whole, when you get to Edgemore and then you're going west on Edgemore. So it was that whole L, which would.
But
is that what
where
you
I'm
got?
going is
Yeah.
this property, if you look, see it in orange there?
Uh-huh.
Is this property part of the subdivision that the gentleman was stating was always R1AA?
No. Unclick off of that one. honey.
So then,
Each, excuse me.
Yeah. So. Where's Edgemore? Let me.
all right, you're running your cursor across it. If you go down there and click on this property, go right there. What's his own?
R1AA.
See, and the point I'm trying to get to you. This. Never mind.
No,
No,
got a question, spit it out.
no, I don't.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's,
And that's what that's how you ran.
It's R1AA. I apologize, on the application, it says R1A, but it is R1AA, and it was not changed previously.
That's where I'm going.
okay.
So does that mean that something was done wrong, I mean, the advertisement? Or
No,
should
that
they not have been allowed?
the zoning is not. It was not in question on the advertisement. The zoning is only for the subdivision.
Right.
Right.
But that's all.
Or I'm sorry, the advertisement was only for the subdivision.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything that they are doing, that they are proposing is permitted under that category, that zoning category. R1AA.
Mr. Chair? If
Yes,
people are
ma'am,
going
Ms.
to speak
Thomas.
from the audience, could you have them come to the microphone so I can hear what they're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Just come up and tell just what you just said, please.
R1AA requires 100-foot wide lots, 10,000 square foot lots, not 70-foot wide, 7,000 foot. R1A is 77,000. R1AA is 110,000.
Yeah, thank you. Do you get that, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. So. Know what? You're gonna talk in the microphone.
Okay, so how, we need to verify that.
You'll give you a few minutes, a few seconds, I'll do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Can I ask, are we waiting on Dawn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Lee, can I ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Norwood, you can ask a question.
James Norwood again, 2317 Palmsville Terrace. How long have this property been zoned R1A?
The only way I have to answer that is by looking at the sales tab on this record that Sunny has pulled up. There's an ordinance down at the bottom, the third one from the bottom, 1955. No, no image. Okay,
From 1955.
right. I don't see any other indication on that list of any other ordinances. We did. From my understanding, we did. You don't think so?
I didn't think
Without-
we got
without that-
zoning till 76. I moved here in 81 and it was just a few years prior to that. I think it was 76.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting, are we allowed to table this case and move on to our next order of business to return afterwards?
I don't see why we can't. Do I have a motion to table to move on to the next and come back?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we table this case until the end of our scheduled business to then resume it at that time.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. We're moving on to Ms. Krantz, is that PB 2220? Am I saying that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, they're just the homes back. So.
So for the record, Don.
Hang on, Mr. Holmes. We just tabled that, waiting on you to
Oh,
come back. But I mean, we'll go ahead and I guess we can come back to it that quick.
Can I remove my motion, Mr. Holmes? Or do you want to just move on to 2220?
We'll just move on to it. It won't take but a minute, I don't think.
Sorry, Mr. Holmes. We didn't know you'd be so quick.
Never has been before, has it?
Ms. Walsh.
This next case is for the annexation, future land use and zoning designation of a parcel at 934 South State Road 19. Most of us know it as Messrs. Bait and Tackle. They have annexed for a couple of reasons, mostly because they are requesting water and sewer and because they want to redevelop the property as a different commercial use. I understand they're planning a Take 5 oil change facility there.
Yeah, that's a small piece of property for that, but they'd still have to come before us.
Yeah.
To change that, wouldn't they? I mean, we're looking for an annexation now, right?
To come before you to change what the zoning and land use.
Yeah.
That's all part of this. So you would make 3 different motions in your staff report.
I got it. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Your staff report is the first motion that you would make would be for the annexation. The second would be for the land use and the third for the zoning. The surrounding, sorry, let me back up a little bit. The existing zoning in the county that they have now is a C1 neighborhood commercial and their future land use is commercial also. They're proposing commercial land use and C2 zoning for the redevelopment. The only piece of property that is contiguous to them that is, of course, in the city already is to the west. And that is some strip stores adjacent to Walmart. And those have a commercial land use with a C2 zoning as well. The properties to the north, south, and east have a variety of commercial and urban reserve, county land use, and county agricultural zoning.
Doing this is with more tax.
Essentially, yes, ma'am. And adds a water and sewer connection. The staff will answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this? Seeing none, I'll close the public part of this speaking and or public part of this meeting and move what is the pleasure of the board. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, at your will, I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barr.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we approve the request to annex the property known as 934 South State Road 19 into the city.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
The motion is that we annex the property into the city. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. Do I have a motion from the board for the staff recommendation to request to amend the future land use of the map from Putnam County Commercial CR to the city of Palatka Commercial?
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion, second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous, Ms. Grant. The request to rezone the Putnam County Commercial Neighborhood C1 to the city of Palatka Commercial Intensive C2. Do I have a motion as such?
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those approved, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes unanimously, Ms. Krantz. So that's done and done. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, ma'am.
may I ask for Sunny's benefit that we identify the people that are on Zoom so that she will have it for her records?
Okay. The, do I need to read those to you, Sonny?
They haven't spoken, so if they request to remain anonymous and not be part of this proceedings, I don't see a problem with them being on there. I would leave that to the city attorney.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes,
do we
I'm
need,
here.
do we need to identify the people on Zoom?
Are they voting on the motion?
No, miss.
No, ma'am. These are people that are on Zoom listening to the meeting themselves. They haven't identified or asked to speak. So I don't think we need to identify them.
The only
No.
reason.
Go ahead, Sonny.
The only reason why Ms. Walsh even brought it up, Mr. Chair, is we were advised by a fellow staff member that there was an applicant appearing via Zoom and that they were applicants. But if the applicant's not been allowed to speak or participate in the proceedings, then I think they can remain anonymous.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
I agree.
okay. All right, then. Do I need a motion to go back to the prior?
Probably not, but Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. We pick up case PB 21-07.
Okay. Second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Holmes.
For the record, Don Holmes, you had a question regarding the development standards in the R1AA zoning district. So that's found in your code section 94-141 R-1AA single family residential district. If you go down to the development standards, which is subparagraph F, it states development standards for all uses except PUD. The following development standards shall apply for all uses in the R1AA district except PUDs. For PUD C section 94-233, maximum density 3 dwellings units per acre, minimum lot area 10,000 square feet, minimum lot width 80 feet, maximum lot coverage 35%, maximum structure height 35 feet, minimum yards front 25, side 10, rear 30. Those, I believe, are the setbacks, right?
Can we put the plat up? Can we put the plat up? Thanks.
Now, the question I think you have is this the new plat? So unless it's a PUD, I mean, well, I'll not be the attorney since I've been chastised about that, and I don't want to disturb Mr. Wallace up, but anyway, if you want this for your record, I'll.
Please, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, Mr. Wallace.
Ask if this is the new plat, and you said yes. That's pretty, I asked you if this was the plat we saw last time, and you told me yes.
Yes, sir, I did. That.
Okay,
This
so
is the
it
plat
hasn't
that the
changed since we-
applicant
It
submitted.
has not changed since we saw it last, excuse me.
That's correct. It has not changed.
My reference to new was, as I could have clarified, I was trying to determine whether or not this was a pre-existing plat of record.
Yeah.
That might have predated zoning. And if there were existing lots of records. So when I said new, I meant something that was, something that was proposed after the effective date of the zoning code.
I understand.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Staff, can I ask just for clarity, is this a PUD?
It is not.
Okay. Staff, does the proposed plat meet the zoning requirements per your understanding?
To my understanding, I would like to point out that the two lots on the north edge are a little over 7,000 square feet. But the remaining lots are. I'm sorry, the lots on the north side are a little over 7,000 square feet. There's two lots, number 1 and 2, that face Mosley that are under 10,000 square feet, but the remaining lots are over 10,000 square feet.
Yes, Mr. Wallace.
What their minimum width of 80 feet, though?
And here we're looking at 70, 60.
There's nothing there that. Well, we've got one on the corner here that's 88. And everything else is under 80.
Okay,
So when they came in. The building. They came in. Thinking they were R1A.
I'm thinking that's what it is.
And
So my question from the back room, I know Ms.
Thomas.
Thomas can't hear me, but my question for the back of the room, and you can repeat the question. Are you certain of what the zoning category is? I mean, obviously, this is not mine.
No, sir, I am not certain. I'm going to have to do some more research.
So I think that's the first thing. The first thing that needs to happen is we need to determine specifically. Obviously, the property appraiser maps are not controlling. They are for reference only, and the property appraiser maps are not, basically a controlling
Thank you.
document for any purpose other than property appraiser's allocation of taxes or proration. But, so I
see you, Mr.
I
Barnes.
don't know, I'm not trying to research personally, I don't have an opinion, I don't know what the zoning is, I'm just saying that obviously. Before this goes any further, there needs to be clarification and determination of what the exact zoning is.
We need
Ms.
to
Barnes.
table.
Excuse me, Mr. Barnes.
Ms. Walsh, when does the applicant's original 6-month deadline expire?
6 months after November 2nd
Okay,
of 2021.
That's way over.
So it
November,
would have expired May
May.
2nd.
Yeah, so they're just coming back to us now and asking us for an extension.
They did ask, I mean, they submitted their letter July 14th. So they were,
2 months past due.
Still past due. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm just gonna close this part of it, and the board asks, what's the pleasure to, oh, wait, well, hang on, Mr. Wallace.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Since they're 2 months over, should have been back in May. Did this thing die back in May? Because there was no final plat submitted for the, or, you know,
I'm not certain.
that's what's.
Ms. Thomas. Mr. Wallace, you need to turn your
Yeah,
microphone
no,
on and speak.
I heard
Ms.
Mr.
Thomas.
Wallace this time.
Ms. Thomas.
Did you hear that question, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, sir. I did hear it.
Okay.
She did hear it or did?
She did, I think what she said.
Okay,
Yes, I did hear your question, Mr. Wallace.
yes, ma'am.
The time period for asking for, requesting an extension, expired. However, this letter was submitted to staff in July, and Ms. Walsh thought that it was proper to bring it before the board, planning board. However, you can make a decision based on the fact that it had expired at the time that it died at that time. And then they can bring that before the commission for a ruling on your decision.
So if I understand right, it died back in May.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hank,
It expired,
hang on.
yes.
Ms. Thomas, I don't have the code in front of me, I can go look, but my question is, does the ordinance, is the ordinance worded so that the 6-month extension was thought to be necessary? In other words, does the ordinance specifically state that that preliminary plat approval of a subdivision is valid for only 6 months, expires at that time? How is it worded?
I'm looking it up right now.
Go down to the next section. I'm gonna go down below, so I can, whoa,
You're on 74-8?
ma'am.
What are you looking at?
I was looking at 74.1.2 is what she has up on the screen. That's all I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too.
Go to the next one, Sonny. I don't see it there. Whoa,
74-8?
8.
Yeah, look at that one.
Can you go back to 8, please? Okay, wait.
I can't read it.
Okay, no. Submission requirements. Special form. Requirements for final approval.
All right, so it says that it's under subparagraph B 74.9. It says it shall also be required that the final plat be submitted to the planning board not later than 6 months after approval of the preliminary plat. Otherwise, such conditional approval shall become null and void unless an extension of time is applied for and granted by the planning board. So there's where your operative language is. I'll stop being lawyer again.
You can't help it. Don't worry about it.
So back to my question,
Yes, sir.
it's dead.
That's what I would assume by what was just read.
Yes, sir.
So it's dead already, so we really don't, I mean,
So still questioning. They need to start with their submittal again. The whole, Mr. Holmes, the whole thing or just the plat?
start with Ms. Thomas.
Ms. Thomas,
Mr. Wallace, I
do
think
they
the first
start
thing
the
we
whole
need,
ma'am?
for the first thing I think we need to determine is the correct, what is the zoning district? I think that is the key point here. If it's
Correct.
R1AA or R1A. So
Right, and
I
once
think that
that's,
just,
Well,
Go
Ms.
ahead.
Thomas, it
Yes, sir.
doesn't, this is Ed. But, it doesn't really matter with that. I mean, according to what, I mean, and you're the lawyer, I'm asking a question, I'm not telling you. You know, it doesn't really matter with that. The fact is it's dead right now, right? I mean, that they'd have to, I mean, I understand what you're saying. They have to, that staff needs to go back and rectify the zoning part of it. But as far as what we're trying to do today, really and truly, there's nothing to do because it's dead, correct?
correct. You can deny it because it is, it expired in May, I guess, 2nd, is that 6th?
Yes, ma'am, somewhere right around there.
Okay, and I was saying that, but I was answering Mr. Wallace's question as to how it could be remedied. Well, the first thing we need to do is, if they go back and want to start the process again, is to determine the correct zoning district.
Yes, ma'am.
But yes to your question, and yes to Mr. Wallace's question.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
but
You're welcome.
I'm not, my question is not even to do with the zoning.
Yeah,
It's what has to be, what is dead? Is just the plat dead or is the whole application dead?
Well, the application was the plat, wasn't it?
Okay, so for clarification, Don Holmes again, I think, I mean, if I understand what you're getting to, Mr. Wallace, and it scares me to think that I might understand what you're getting.
I'm glad you caught up.
But having said that, I think you're bringing to mind, and your question relates to whether or not there's any sort of there'd be any sort of prohibition upon them coming back with the same application for preliminary plat approval as a result of the fact that their first preliminary plat approval became null and void. And my initial opinion is that there'd be nothing to stop them from coming back, because that language simply says that the conditional approval of the plat becomes null and void. Doesn't say that they're forever barred from resubmitting the same thing. So my initial read would be,
No, I didn't say that they would be barred from ever submitting but the plat. What?
They'd have to resubmit. They'd have to start the process over again. And to then, to Ms. Thomas's point, that would give everybody an opportunity to confirm the zoning
Right.
and make sure that, that the zoning is, consistent with their lot configuration. It's also going to open up the question of what happens if they go with a PUD. And are you able to vary the lot standards, under the PUD process? So, but that's a whole different ballgame.
Short and sweet, the whole thing's dead.
Well, I guess your use of the term dead is a little bit concerning to me.
Short and
This
sweet, the
particular
whole thing's
application is null and void. Right,
Mhm.
right.
But
But
we-
it, but it can be resurrected. So it,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But right
Right.
now, null and void.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Write that down if you would.
you.
I'm going to.
I'm
Uh,
on time shade. I will.
Mr. Holmes,
Ma'am. Ma'am.
also, I wanted to bring to, the board's attention, the minimum, square footage
Right.
ordinance that you reviewed at your last meeting and thought about. That, and it's gone through the first reading of the commission. So that also would have an impact on this,
She's talking about dwelling size, house
the dwelling
size.
size.
What she's talking about.
Or the house size or
Yeah.
the
Yes, sir.
overall size of the lots too.
Dwelling size.
Okay,
Dwelling size.
okay.
But
Alright.
that I think was at 850 or something. So,
Okay.
So-
Thank you.
I believe it was 850 heated and cool was what they approved on first reading, I believe.
Everything about.
But I think for the
predetermined.
R1's manager, I think it was 1,200, wasn't it? Ms. Walsh?
850 for, my recollection was the 1,200 applied in the historic district. But I thought that, and that's recollection, I'm going by memory, but I thought R1, R1A was all 850 minimum heated and cool.
Okay,
Heated and cooled or heated?
heated,
You said heated and cooled or just heated? I mean, that's.
heated.
Conditions.
No, I mean, you split that hair at the last meeting, Mr. Barnes.
Conditioned space. If
Okay,
anybody in Florida right now is building a house without air conditioning, then
same thing I
More power
thought
to
of the
them.
last thing we did, Mr. Holmes. Okay. So actually, we need to go ahead and deal with what we got. And the application for extension, even though the thing's dead, it's come before us and we need to deal with it. Do I hear a motion from the board as to how we do that?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we deny the request for extension as submitted in PV case 21-07.
Do I hear a second? Second? There's a motion and a second that we deny the case for PB. I can't see today. PB 21-07. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those in favor, nay. Motion passes. Or no, motion's denied, excuse me.
Did you vote nay? I'm sorry. I heard you say.
No,
nay.
I did not. No, I said unanimous. Y'all quit. Y'all were trying to confuse me. Between the audience, Miss Thomas and everybody else, I feel like I'm in,
We're.
Twilight
small
Zone.
record, So you don't want to get too.
well, I'm sorry. So with that being said, motion's denied. Is there anything else before that needs to come before the board?
I'd just like to mention something. These folks here that live on Palmacia, where the notification for the zoning was changing and so forth, did not see it. Now that we know that, is there any way that we can make sure that staff understands that there's only one in and out over there and the notification was there? Really, I mean, I know legally it's right, but morally, I don't think it is because they didn't see it. I wouldn't have seen it if it was in my neighborhood. I think we need to make sure if this comes up again, which I'm sure it probably will, that it is proper notification for in and out of that neighborhood be posted.
I was the only one that got a letter last.
Okay.
I know that next time
I'll notify my neighbors.
Any other?
Mr. Chairman, in the agenda, we have a item number 6 that doesn't make sense to me. What is that?
Yeah. But that's the same thing.
Well, it's a different address. Or, excuse me, it might not, no,
Same thing. Well, it's a different address, but it's PB 2220
Okay, real.
at the agenda. Yeah.
I. 110 State Road 19.
Case number is a typo, Ms. Walsh.
Ma'am,
I believe the case number is a typo.
I believe it is also.
Or what?
A typo.
I don't have.
A
another
typo,
item on the
okay.
agenda.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same case. It's just a different address.
It's
So we
not
have,
the correct.
What?
we have 3 cases to discuss then.
No, sir, it was just a comment. Do you want me to take it as well? This is the rezoning that was advertised, that was pulled from the agenda. It was placed under comments. I'm trying to refresh your memory.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sunny. It was, the case number is a typo. The address is not.
Okay,
There was an application made for rezoning for that address and it was withdrawn.
okay.
Okay.
And I had brought that to her concern, Mr. Chair. I'd said if anyone was to appear having seen the notification, we should probably just mention in the comments that it had been withdrawn, but seeing no one, seeing the majority of the people in the audience have gone.
Well, wait a minute. Miss Kitchens is still here. Do you have something to say to that? Never mind. Okay. With that being said, staff have any comments?
No, sir.
Okay. I hear a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
I hear a second.
Me,
We have a second. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
I.
We are adjourned.